On this channel, I like to examine the mysterious and darker sides of background Simpsons characters, but this time I'm taking down the big one, Homer Simpson, and how he may not be as lovable as he first appears. Don't let this buffoonery fool you, this guy is a stone cold killer. So let's dive into the dark side of Homer Simpson. He's a child abuser. One of the longest running gags throughout this whole show is weirdly Homer wrapping his sausagey mitts around Bartholomew's neck, which is a staple of the show that has been carrying on for over 3 decades. But when you really think about it, a father strangling his 10-year-old son is dark. This abuse happens so much that there is literally an entire Simpsons wiki page on it, listing each and every time he's done it, and it's a pretty long list. And these strangles are done for pretty petty reasons. Starting all the way back in Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, after Bart childishly changes the words to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Homer is enraged and strangles the boy off screen. And later on, even Bart admits that
it hurts when I swallow.
You little dog!
The years of strangulation has no doubt caused severe throat damage to the child. Even Peter Griffin, who won't win any Father of the Year award by any means, was appalled.
You strangle your son? That's insane!
And Peter Griffin treats his kids like trash. So you know it's bad. He almost killed his father. So Abe hasn't always been the best father to Homer. He was pretty absent and unaffectionate to his son growing up, and Abe even told Homer that he was an accident. So we can kind of understand why Homer treats his father the way he does, which includes dumping him at a retirement home without even looking back. And even when he finds his father lost in the forest, he just abandons him right there and then. And although Grandpa has done some pretty bad things to Homer, that's nothing compared to Homer actually wishing to kill his dad. In the episode Homer Simpson in Kidney in Trouble, the family reluctantly take Grandpa on their road trip to a ghost town. On the way back, Grandpa asks to go to the bathroom, and this leads to Grandpa's kidney exploding, and if he doesn't get a transplant quick, he will die. Homer surprisingly offers up one of his own kidneys, but he runs away as soon as the operation was about to begin, out of fear, twice. Eventually, the procedure was done against Homer's will whilst he was unconscious from being run over by a car. But this just proves that you literally have to slice Homer's guts open before getting anything nice out of him. He ruined his brother's company. In the season 2 episode Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Homer meets his long lost brother Herb. And Herb's doing alright for himself and owns his own car company, and he mistakenly asks Homer to create a new custom car. Well, it turns out it was a big mistake. Homer creates the world's most expensive, hideous car that no one would ever want. Except for me, I kinda like it. Unfortunately, this blunder bankrupts the entire company, losing Herb his business and home. And seeing as he doesn't have a family, wife or kids to comfort him, his life is basically ripped away from him. Until he's a bum living on the street and keeping warm with dumpster fires. Although it could be argued that it's Herb's fault for leaving Homer in charge, which is true, Homer was instrumental in bankrupting the company and destroying the livelihoods of its employees. But later on, Homer does lend Herb the money so he can create a baby translator machine, so we'll reluctantly give him a pass for that one. He almost destroyed Springfield. Mr. Simpson is the nuclear safety technician at the power plant, and this means he's responsible for preventing widespread meltdowns. However, he's sadly been the cause of several near disasters himself. There was one time where he got donut filling on his control station and almost caused a nuclear explosion, and it's only by sheer luck that he managed to avert the total annihilation of Springfield. And then there was the time he got morbidly obese and had to work from home. While bunking off from work, he leaves a toy drinking bird to replace him. But when it tips over, it causes an imminent nuclear meltdown. And even though Homer's there in the end to save the day, it was him that caused the mess in the first place. And did you know that Springfield had to be entirely relocated to a new area just because of Homer? When he became the sanitation commissioner, a role he was completely unprepared and unqualified for, he secretly buried untold amounts of hazardous waste underneath the town, causing Springfield to be moved 5 miles down the road. But the closest time he came to obliterating the town was in the Simpsons movie. When Springfield Lake gets polluted, the entire town pitches in to clean it up. All except for Homer, of course, who is too busy adopting a pet pig. After filling an entire silo with swine waste, Marge orders him to get rid of it, in a safe way. He instead dumps the toxic silo in the lake, which causes the water to become extremely hazardous. The lake mutates any creature that comes to contact with it, which raises the attention of the EPA, who places a giant dome over Springfield, shutting them off from the world. But the Simpsons family managed to escape the glass prison via a sinkhole and escape to Alaska. However, when the Simpsons find out that the government are planning on blowing up Springfield, Homer couldn't care less that his home and friends are about to be destroyed. And while Homer saves the day in the end, they wouldn't be under the dome in the first place if it wasn't for him. Not to mention that the glass dome ultimately kills this iconic character and Dr. Nick.
Bye, everybody!
So that blood is firmly on Homer's hands, but more on his manslaughter later. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, then please consider subscribing to the Simpsons Theory. It really helps out the channel and it's completely free. Thank you so much. Frames Marge for drunk driving. Homer and Marge have had more ups and downs than a trampoline.
Trampoline! Trampoline!
So much so that Homer's constant exploits on his wife have had a severe lasting impact on Marge's health.
Isn't it great being married to someone who's recklessly impulsive?
Actually, it's aged me horribly.
And he once spied on Marge's private therapy sessions. And arguably the worst thing Homer has ever done to his wife was frame her for drunk driving. In the season 13 episode Codependence Day, Marge and Homer go on a wicked bender of non-stop drinking for several days. And after getting wasted at Oktoberfest, Homer drives them back drunk and ends up crashing and overturning the car. And instead of taking responsibility, he instead moves Marge into the driver's seat and takes off himself. Marge gets arrested and slapped with a DUI, and for a long while Marge blames herself for driving while drunk and even goes to rehab. This is before he finally confesses. Homer has done some pretty selfish things, but abandoning his wife and allowing her to get dragged into a deep dark hole of regret and guilt, followed by a rehab program, is cold. Not forgetting about the time he almost cheated on her with Mindy, dribbled over Maud's peanuts, and was seduced by Lurleen. He also married a casino waitress in Vegas, roping Neddy in the process, and being a terrible influence altogether. Oh yeah, that brings us to... he tortures poor Neddy. Homer's had an irrational hatred for Flanders ever since the first episode. He takes advantage of his generosity and constantly insults him. He even wished poverty on him and his family in the season 3 episode when Flanders failed. While pulling on a wishbone, Homer internally debates on his wish, and debates on wishing for the death of Neddy himself, while instead Homer tones it down slightly and wishes for Flanders' new Leftorium store to fail. Which before would have been an unfunny but hypothetical joke, but this wish of Ned's income failing is very transparent in showing Homer's utter animosity for our favourite moustache left-handed Christian. Homer does eventually come to regret his wish and helps Flanders out, so I'll give him a point there. But this is only the tip of the iceberg for Homer's mistreatment of Ned. He's constantly stealing Flanders' property, despite the fact that Ned himself isn't actually as well off as the Simpsons.
Oh, we're not as well off as you think.
Homer even kicked Ned out of his own bomb shelter after the Flanders let the whole town in.
If anyone dies, it should be him.
And of course, Homer wrote the hit song Everybody Hates Flanders. And those aren't even the worst things he's done to the poor old sod. Cold-hearted murderer. Yep, the most egregious thing Homer has ever done to Ned Flanders was kill his wife. In the season 11 episode Alone Again Natra Diddley, the Simpsons and the Flanders go to a car race. When a squad of cheerleaders come out of t-shirt guns, Homer gets a little too excited in asking for one. And when they blast the cannons, Homer ducks down to pick up a bobby pin, and the shirts knock poor Maud over the stands. And while you may excuse this for a simply terrible accident, it was later revealed that Homer delayed the ambulance, so there was no hope in resuscitation. And let's just take a look at Homer's face while he talks about his involvement in the death. He doesn't give a flying monkey.
I'm the one who parked in the ambulance zone, preventing any possible resuscitation.
There's no sign of remorse or sadness. Not only did he take away Neddy's beloved wife, he also took away Rod and Todd's mother. And we can see the real impact this has on the young boys in the episode, Todd, Why Hast Thou Forsaken Me? When Ned asks Todd if he ever dreams about his mother, Todd says he can't even remember his mum, which is absolutely heartbreaking. Studies have shown that intense trauma can cause memory loss and a personality shift. And if that wasn't enough, Homer has also killed another one of Ned's wives. After the loss of Maude, Ned finally finds happiness when he starts dating Edna. Although at first glance they may seem like an odd couple, the pairing surprisingly worked, balancing each other out. Edna finally helped Ned finally stand up to Homer's bullish ways by helping get back all of Ned's belongings. This must have rubbed psychotic Homer up the wrong way, as he could no longer push his neighbour Rena around, building up a motive and a reason to kill Edna.
That's why after Homer accidentally killed Edna, I married Maud's ghost.
Homer's lust for bloody murder doesn't stop there. Oh no. He has also contributed to the never-ending suffering of Hans Mole Man. Homer has ran over the poor little peanut 3 times. And he obviously gets a real kick out of seeing Mole Man in pain, demonstrated through A Star Is Burns. Let's face it, at that film festival, he was the only guy laughing at that video.
But the ball is groin!
He also ran over Gil in addition to crippling his kindly old Dean with a car. Someone really needs to take away this guy's driving license. However, despite all these negative traits, we can't help but love the guy. It's this combination of good and bad that makes Homer Simpson undeniably the greatest character ever. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think is the worst thing Homer Simpson has ever done? And which character's dark side would you like me to explore next? And finally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to my newest Flying Hellfish members, Edward Lindquist and Anthony Tindley. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a thank you to my Hellfish unit, Timothy, who else but Zane, Liam, Tommy, Steve, Charlie, Sean, Justin, Andre Stefan, Jake, Josh, David, Nicholas, Vincent, Robert, Ashley, Kevin, Rob, Devin, Gadrak, Bailey, Stephen, Edward and Anthony. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and smell you later.